Thank you very much, Venerable Dondrup. So lovely to see you out there online, wherever you're coming in from. And everybody here, we've got, because you can't see them online, we've got 7 people here engaging in this day. And I just wanted to describe to you from my side what the day's about. And then we'll take refuge together, the prayers, and start. So we've got 4 hours today, and this day was requested by Venerable Dondrup as a kind of completion of the Discovering Buddhism Refuge module that you've done. So if you come with that in mind, then you will understand the depth of some teachings on refuge, because what we do on days like this is really just remind you about the objects of refuge, and we reflect on them, meditate on them. So quite a few of the meditations will be analytical, where I kind of, for you, bullet point ideas, and you think about them. So you will hear me chiming away in the background while you meditate quite a lot in order to input so that you're not lost with it, yeah? So how I'd like to run the day is we'll do 4 meditations in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. So we have 2 hours. So each meditation will be about 20 odd minutes with a little bit of introduction. Then after the meditation, you've got an opportunity just to stretch. And then at 11 o'clock, we'll have a break where you can just go out, take a breath of air, have a pee-pee, whatever, and then we'll come back and do the other 2 meditations. So this morning, we're going to be looking at the worldly concerns in that, what is refuge, and what do we as your average human being, all of us, still, even though we're practicing Buddhism, take refuge in. So we'll be looking at that. Then we'll go into genuine refuge. Then the session from 11 till 12, we'll be looking at the qualities of the Buddha, and then the qualities of the Dharma. After lunch, the qualities of the Sangha. We'll be looking at Guru devotion, really applicable in this tradition especially. And then the last 2 meditations, Buddha nature and the bodies of the Buddha. And then we'll do a Guru Shakyamuni meditation, refuge in the 3 jewels. So I think that just about covers it. And will include some mindfulness so that you have some spaciousness as well. And I suggest it is like a mini retreat. It's very reflective. So of course, if you're online, you can just go away and reflect quietly. But for us here, we're having lunch together. I'm not saying no speaking because we haven't agreed on that. And it's nice to socialize. But if you wish to have that kind of space where we're just meditating and you don't want to talk or be interrupted, then there's space for you to take your lunch to little corners, and we'll respect that, yeah? And just keep it low-key. Okay? Okay, so quite an intensive day, but I'll go with the flow of what I'm picking up from certainly you in the room here. It's easier for you online because if it's too much, you can just sit back or get up or whatever. And for you here as well, if it becomes a bit intense, then please feel free to get up and get some fresh air and come back in. Don't push, yeah? We don't push. There's no point in pushing because it just creates a headache and a negative attitude. So it needs, we want to be joyous and joyful and relaxed. Okay? Okay. All right, so let's have a look at the prayers here. So I'll go back into Zoom and share the opening prayers. So it's clear that if you're here, then you have taken refuge already anyway, or you're very interested in taking refuge. And so you will already have a feel for how we adapt our psychology from ordinary minds to extraordinary minds. So when we take refuge now, it's like a blessing for us today, because we're deepening our sense of refuge, making it stronger. All of us, including me, doesn't matter how long you've been practicing. It's a wonderful opportunity, so really set the motivation for the day as we take refuge together. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Just pause after each line, as usual. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. Generate love here for all beings. Send it out. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and generate compassion. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering, generate empathic joy. So happy that others have found the Dharma, the spiritual path. You know exactly how that feels. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Okay, so let's absorb all that wonderful energy that we've already created. Blessing from the Buddhas, our gurus, our teachers, to prepare us for the day ahead. So we settle into our meditation posture and take some deep breaths, easing out the tension. And settle into natural breathing. And we'll just settle and stabilize the mind for a few minutes. Mindfulness of the breath, allowing thoughts to dissolve, giving you spaciousness in which to focus on the meditations. So let us first begin with a consideration of what we mean, what we understand in the word refuge. Now, if we look around in the world today, we are not short of examples of people who are refugees, homeless, stateless, no status, no place in the world. Like boats without anchors, just bobbing around, lost. Now I have heard Lama Yeshe personally say to me, and know he has said it to at least a few other people that I know of, "Where is your home?" He asked me. And of course I jumped around and thought in my head, what is it? Where I live in Cumbria? Is it here? I was confused. And he stopped me from speaking, held up his hand, and I realized then it was like a Zen koan, and that it would be with me for the rest of my life as I considered at different points what he meant. So that's the basis for today, really, an opportunity to think, where is your home? So whilst we are lost, we are all scrabbling around, all beings scrabbling around, looking for something that will make our life meaningful and purposeful, where we feel settled. But it's a crazy world. So in the next few minutes, you just consider what I mean by that and what you understand that to be. A crazy world where people run here and there, looking for meaning, looking for shelter. Just let your mind move into different scenarios of your own or others, where you witness this restlessness, this feeling of being lost, of searching for reliable refuge. And then think of when you're particularly in need, that your life might be jogging along and you have a nice home and everything's right, and then suddenly something happens. Are there worldly things or people that you turn to? Do you get on the phone to friends to ask advice, to find some sense of shared lostness, which will reassure you? Do you open the wine bottle? Think not only of what you do, but what so many people do, and how many people there are who drink too much, who take drugs, who eat too much, filling the void of being lost and without genuine refuge. We can take refuge in so many things. We can take refuge in youth, trying to stay young. Our bodies constantly at the gym, buying fashionable clothes, trying to look as if we know who we are. And then on a more superficial level, we can take refuge in cake and chocolate and all those things. We're doing it all the time. And some of it is fine. But just think of that deeper sense of lacking reliable refuge, even in our relationships with those we love. And for the last part of the meditation, put yourself on a lovely fluffy white cloud and just observe the beings below you, waking up, going to work, having breakfast, socializing, running here, there, and everywhere. Chasing worldly concerns. Materialism. Buying stuff. The accumulation of things. Hedonism. Through the senses. Continually distracting ourselves through the senses. And societal values like status and power. And taking refuge in our own ego, our opinions and judgments of others. And for 5 minutes, just roam free, checking. If your mind wanders, just come back to your fluffy cloud and give yourself a break up there and think, ooh, I want to be free of that. Or is there anything there that you think, yes, that's reliable, that's a great source of refuge, I don't want to lose that. Just own it. Bring it up on your cloud. Let it rest with you for the time being. Really examining. So Lama Zopa says this, spending this perfect human rebirth, desiring only the 8 worldly concerns, and working for the enjoyment of samsaric pleasures, is like trading universes full of jewels for caca. But even this very dirty thing is much more useful than attachment. It can be used by both people and animals. Attachment, just reflect on that for the last minute of the meditation, how all this running around and seeking comes from a scared ego. And out of our ignorance of how things really exist, we attach ourselves to anything out there that makes us feel even temporarily better. And with a feeling of compassion, just dissolve all the imagery, all the suffering sentient beings, all the craziness of the world into your heart. Dissolve your cloud and end your meditation. And fine. Do have a little stretch, get up, move around a bit before we start the next meditation. If any questions arise, do, jot them down, and we'll have a opportunity just before lunch and before the end of the day to ask anything if there's any confusion. Anything that comes up. How are you doing up there? Good. You can hear okay. Great. Okay. So just a few words about the next meditation. So what we've just done is reminded ourselves of the different aspects of the worldly concerns, and that, recognizing that, as human beings, as us, we have to, in a conventional way, take refuge in all kinds of things. If we're sick, we need to go to the doctor, we need a home, if we're going to stabilize and be safe and warm and comfortable. So it's not to say that these things are wrong. These things aren't wrong. It's just that we place an importance on them and mistake them for being permanent objects of refuge. Yeah. So a really typical one in our world, and one which is always emerging in, with celebrities, with families, in the media, is our relationships. We as human beings, the majority of us, are looking for that perfect partner who will complete us. That's what we're looking for, completion. And it is a completion in one way, because if we're female, we're looking for male. If we're male, we're looking for female. And if we're part of the LGBT community, then we're looking for that energy, but still, because we're identifying as sexual beings, we're looking for that energy that will complete us. Now, in Lama Yeshe's book, An Introduction to Tantra, which you don't have to have taken a tantric initiation to appreciate, he talks at length about how actually what Tantra is about is utilizing the female and male energies and uniting them. And all the Buddhas, enlightened beings, as we've looked at in the Tara practice, there is no male, there is no female. We are all empty of inherent existence, and we are all here manifesting in a particular way due to our karmic propensities. And what we are seeking is completion, is a sense of fulfillment. So the obvious thing to do is to look to relationships. And most of us will go through that journey. And again, there's nothing wrong with having a life partner who helps you in this crazy world. But what we do in a mistaken way is we expect them to provide us with fulfillment and happiness. Big mistake. Recipe for disaster. Such pressure we are placing on wanting that from another being. And when we are in love, then we can see and we will remember, or we know now, wherever we're at in our lives, that feeling is like almost euphoric. You could say it's like the bliss of enlightenment, because suddenly I found someone who thinks I'm wonderful and they're wonderful, and together we don't need anybody else. Fabulous. But we know, without even being pessimistic here, even if we're optimistic, that, that will settle and change. And we will soon realize they're not perfect. They'll soon realize you're not perfect. And then, the journey begins where you can either, work with it, or there's huge disappointment. And so the reason I'm saying this is because our expectation of others to be our refuge can be temporarily pleasant, reassuring, supportive. But ultimately, to put our faith in the fact that they're going to be around for all of our lives is foolish. It's impractical. They may get ill, they may die prematurely. They may find somebody else to fall in love with. All kinds of things can happen. They're so unreliable. So when we talk about genuine refuge, we're saying, I'm going to be self-dependent, which doesn't mean I won't have relationships, but that I will actually become somebody who is self-reliant. I become an inner being, somebody who looks to their own inner qualities for completion and fulfillment. And then anything else that happens with families, with relationships, at work, whatever is going on around you, and we all get so much happiness and also unhappiness in our relationships with others. We have something that is like a rock, that is so reliable, that is within us. So let's enter into the meditation, becoming an inner being, the source of genuine refuge. So just settle. And a few minutes of mindfulness. So we'll start this with a series of questions for you to analyze. So the first one is, do I understand what it means to take refuge in worldly concerns, and am I ready to become an inner being? And as you analyze this, why are you ready? That's the crucial point here. What is it now that's making you ready? What have you discovered? So the next question is, how do I take inner refuge in myself? What is it I'm taking refuge in? Just think about that briefly. What is it I've discovered that gives me the conviction that everything I need is within myself? Am I lacking in anything that can't be fulfilled if I develop myself? Have I already developed some basic understanding of the nature of the mind? That I have within me this stream of consciousness has always been there. And will always be. And that it can be what I want it to be with help. Am I developing an understanding of my qualities, my tendencies and habits through the practice of meditation and day-to-day awareness? Can I see a clear path with help and support? I can transform my mind. Am I aware of my potential, my inner Buddha potential? If I listen, can I hear the whispers that guide me better than any external sources? So just rest for a while, considering your own Buddha nature and your potential for full awakening within. Our inner wisdom, a source for all guidance, a quiet voice I just need to nurture. That intuitive higher self within. and your inner Sangha, the support that you give yourself, your determination, your motivation, bodhicitta motivation to help all beings. Relying on this flourishing and flowering of your inner qualities. So spend a few minutes thinking about how you're moving from this reliance on external objects of refuge that are worldly, unreliable, temporary, inconsistent, uncertain, to something that is so powerful and strong that each day you want to remember to turn within, to come into contact with that inner source of power. Because when we take refuge in Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, we become inner beings, supported by these three pillars of strength and power that are incomparable, and all of them found within. So for the last few minutes of the meditation, just contemplate that. And what we mean by genuine refuge is finding the strength and the courage and the possibilities to leave worldly concerns behind, to renounce them all, and just feel incredibly blessed to have found a source of support, our genuine refuge support system, the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha, and our precious teachers. With them, all that inner potential will definitely achieve full enlightenment. So we generate a feeling of joy here. It's like, phew, thank goodness, I'd be lost. I'm so fortunate. And with that sense of joy, you can finish the meditation And take a break till 11:05. Just move around a bit. So now we're kind of ready to go through this process, and some of you might think, well, I've already done this, I know this, but it's good to go back because it doesn't stop us from taking refuge in all these external things. You know, we're ever hopeful. I always think hope's a very dodgy word. And people say to have hope is, to be human and hope things will turn out best. Hope that the next relationship will work. Hope that the next job gives us satisfaction. There's this sense that out there, at some point, it's going to happen and it will fulfill me. So it's good to remind ourselves, now, come on, whatever I'm doing, whatever lovely comforts I have, they're temporary. They really are temporary. So on another level, we're looking at the limits to our own human life. We are aging and we will die. And if all we've done is scatter ourselves amongst all these distractions and tried to find perfect happiness in all these external resources that are available to us so easily in the West, so easy, then we have, as Lama Zopa said, it's a waste. It's a waste of a precious human rebirth. So we need to remind ourselves, because we get distracted. We get distracted by stuff and things and people. Yeah. And we go into pleasures. And as I've said before, is not to deny us. We don't have to be ascetic. In fact, that's not the middle way. We need to be kind to ourselves and to accept that we have some lovely karmic propensities that are giving us fortunate opportunities. But that's what they are. The opportunities to become inner beings and to find genuine refuge and to really hang on to that, like a child hangs on to the hand of their parent when they're out. Don't let go, otherwise I'm lost. So we're saying, don't let go to the Buddha. Don't let go to our gurus. In fact, one of the prayers in Lama Zopa, the Guru Puja, is, I can't remember the exact words, but it's sort of, hang on to me, even by my toenails. Just hang on to me. Don't let go. So we consider the qualities of the Buddha, which you will have done, and you will probably think you know about. But let's just consider now the Buddha as a human being and the stages he went through. He went through the whole hedonistic, materialistic thing. He had status, he had power, he had all the worldly concerns perfected and realized that they were empty of meaning. And so he left to find genuine meaning. And the genuine meaning he found was enough to want him to exit samsara forever, because he saw that there was only endless grief around, that there was suffering, that we did age, that we did die, and he thought, this is madness. And if you think about it, if you've got some super, amazing aliens looking down on us, they'll think those poor creatures scrabbling around. Scrabbling around and look at what we've been through with the pandemic, all the fear of that in societies where we're not used to being threatened for a whole generation, we've not had war, and now we've got war on our doorstep, and we're having terrible experiences with the climate, and you see terrible, terrible suffering. In a few days, the number of those dead, over 20,000 in the Turkey-Syria area. Unbelievable suffering. And yet, their refuge, first of all, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, isn't it? You can't think about spirituality very easily when you've got no food in your belly, when you're cold, when you haven't got shelter. So you need all those basics. We have those basics. And then we need friendliness and love and affection. We have that. I don't know your circumstances, but I'm imagining that there's family, that there's friends, that there's beings out there who you can share with. So we have that. We have a creative lives. We're able to read books, see amazing paintings, draw ourselves, whatever. We're creative. So what is there? Well, the Buddha saw that what you could do is you could become this inner being. And he took teachers in the Hindu tradition. He took teachers and he learned. Somebody as amazing as him, with all his accomplishments, he went, let me sit before you and let me learn. So that's what we do. Well, if the Buddha could do it, we certainly can. Have some humility and sit in front of whoever we can to deepen our knowledge. And eventually, after incredible trials, after 6 years of asceticism, where he virtually died, he sat under the Bodhi tree in what is now Bodh in India, and he touched the ground, and he said, I will not rise again until I am enlightened. Determination, he found it within himself. He knew he had the potential, and he just had to put in the effort. And so it goes that, many Maras, many temptations appeared, beautiful ladies and power and all these kind of things. And he had just perfected his realization that nothing worldly held anything worth having, because it would fail, because it would end, and because it would take him into disturbing thoughts, disturbing emotions, which is what we suffer from so much, even if our circumstances are great. We've still got those minds going crazy, running around, searching for refuge. So this is the being we take refuge in. We go, wow, amazing. And then not only did he become fully enlightened, but he then took on the job of teaching others. He could have just, and I'm just imagining here because I have no idea, he could have just floated off into nirvana, or stayed in nirvana in that body and just enjoyed the bliss. But his compassion was so great and his enlightenment was so complete that he couldn't. He just looked around and thought, I have got to help beings get out of samsara. And so he stayed to teach. So this is the Buddha. So let's meditate a little bit on the Buddha, on his qualities. Settle yourself and visualize the Buddha, Guru Shakyamuni, teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, sitting there resplendent. If you're not sure what to visualize, look on the shrine. We're not going to construct him perfectly at this stage. We're just going to imagine this incredible being, full of light, golden light, with his top knot. Not in his human aspect, but as this fully enlightened being. The one who, when he died, attained this incredible body of light and determined to remain until the whole ocean of suffering sentient beings was emptied. The compassion is incredible. So the causes for taking refuge is our fear of being born in 3 lower realms and in the whole of samsara. The Buddha had that fear. He saw he wasn't born in the 3 lower realms in his last rebirth, but he saw all the suffering there clearly and fully in the whole of samsara. And the causes for taking refuge are also our conviction that here is a being who we can totally rely on. Why? He's free from all fear. So there is nothing of himself to protect. Every other being we meet in samsara puts themselves first. They have to protect themselves. Buddha puts us first. He knows our minds. He has clairvoyance, omniscience. I'm so difficult to imagine from our perspective. Perhaps we have been fortunate enough to have the experience of a teacher, a guru, a wonderful Lama, like Lama Yeshe or Lama Zopa, or whoever you've met, you feel knows your mind and still loves you. Doesn't turn away and go, ooh, what's on her mind? Understands your conditioning, your habits, tendencies, and loves you and has incredible compassion for you. Whatever you do, it's unconditional. And although we want to be special, the firstborn, the best loved, the favorite, here is a being who has no favorites. Total equanimity will never put you last or first, but equal amongst all beings, and yet can still help you fully. So there's no neglect. So just for a few minutes, visualize the Buddha and consider these qualities and his relationship to you, why he is your source of refuge. So we want to generate what is called aspiring faith. And just feel incredible joy that he has achieved what he achieved. Like the perfect role model. And then recognizing that we have the potential to become Buddha ourselves. That is incredible. We've done the inner refuge. We know we have the potential. That is aspiring faith. I beg your pardon. First one is admiring faith. You're admiring him. This one is you're aspiring to become like your perfect role model. And a really solid conviction that establishes them as a valid base, establishes the Buddha as a valid base for refuge. In the words of Lama Yeshe, is omniscient, is everlasting, permanent, peaceful. And his nature is in the characteristic of wisdom and compassion. Buddha, the completely purified and fully developed one. And for the last few minutes, just generate all that admiring, aspiring faith and conviction. And bring the Buddha to the top of your head. Feel his light flooding over you, dissolving into light. He is so happy, he just wants to bless all your inner potential. And let the light come down through the crown of your head to your heart and fill you with light and generate incredible bliss that you have found this perfect, fully developed role model to guide you, support you, and love you for who you are in your life and beyond. And when you're ready, end the meditation and have a bit of a stretch. So now we come to the last meditation of the morning, which is on the Dharma, taking refuge in the Dharma. Dharma is the true refuge. And going back to this idea of becoming an inner being, at the point we recognize our own potential to transform our minds and enter the spiritual path, we're practicing the Dharma. And then we, through our karmic connection with this wisdom, if we are fortunate and we have the precious human rebirth, we then seek and find Dharma teachings. Remember, if we have a precious human rebirth, we will have access to the Dharma. They will be available. So we have that. Yeah? So, the Sangha practiced the Dharma. The Buddha practiced the Dharma when he was Prince Siddhartha, the man. He practiced the Dharma. He found the Dharma and then he developed it fully in his meditation to realize the destruction of all ignorance, emptiness, and then the development of the precious mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta, which brought him to full enlightenment. So the Dharma as a source of refuge is called, the Sanskrit root is Dhri, which is that which holds, D-H-R-I, as far as I know, Dhri. That which holds. And if you think about it, you just want to finish that phrase, don't you? That which holds all the source of all our happiness and all our good qualities is in the Dharma. It's there. It's there for our taking. And so, it certainly does hold so much. And certainly in the different traditions of Buddhism that have developed, both in the Theravada and the Mahayana, there is everything there to nourish us. It's like the best meal on the table. The appetizer, the starter, the main course, the pudding, and the good bottle of wine, or whatever's your poison. There's everything there that you need to fill you with satisfaction, nourishment, and contentment. It's all in the Dharma. So we take refuge in the Buddha because he has been the source. It's through the Buddha that we have found the Dharma. And so he is our role model, because what we're aiming to do is to become him, basically. When I say him, the Buddha, Buddhas transcend female and male, but they manifest in different ways to help beings. So we have the manifestation of Tara in female form. We have the manifestation of Guru Shakyamuni as male, because his last life on earth was as a male, and he became enlightened as a male. So we recognize that we can become Buddha. Let's remove him and her. We can become Buddha, okay? And then we need what he has given us. And actually, when the Buddha passed away, again, forgive me for not exactly the right words, but all things are impermanent, nature of suffering. Practice. Basically, I've given you everything. You don't need me. And of course, culturally, he became an object of veneration. And I think it's very helpful. But what we don't want to do, and what the Dalai Lama teaches very clearly, especially to the Tibetans who have the tendency, the ordinary Tibetans, they see the Buddha as this external God, and they make offerings and light candles. And he says, no, study the Dharma. And I've been there with him. And he's, there's been many Tibetans, and he go, and he's in his own skillful way that he has, you do this and you do that. That's very nice. But actually, to become enlightened, study the Dharma. Study. Yeah. So, yes, lovely to have to know that it's been done. And that's, our inspiration there, that admiration, that wow. He's done it, I can do it. It's like any role model we have, isn't it? If we develop an interest in something and we want to become a great sports person, then there'll be some footballer or whatever, hurdler or whatever they do out there. You can tell I'm very sporting. And you'll be looking to them. I want to be like them. They've done it. They won the Olympics. They got a gold. You have that role model. And that's really what the Buddha's doing. And of course, he does give us blessings. He's able to bless us, bring us on the path, but the Dharma is everything. So let's do our last meditation on the qualities of the Dharma before lunch. Just settle. Just a few minutes of mindfulness, just relaxing into your body, breathing, finding your presence. Don't push, just feel comfortable. And first of all, we can just sit and be incredibly happy that we are not amongst those people who have some sense that life is eternal. They're living their lives as if they'll never die. And that life is all about getting and having and owning and being seen to have and own. Nor are we amongst those who are nihilistic. Life is meaningless, total depression, mental instability, cruelty. I'll just take what I want. I'll have as much as I can because there's no point anyway. And human beings out there, they're all disgusting. They exist, these beings, locked into cruelty and violence. Nothing's worthwhile. Hate everything and everyone. Incredible anger. And deep down, incredible fear, as eternalists have. So just sit with that for a minute or two. Your precious human rebirth. You have found the Dharma. Just generate an incredible amount of bliss around that. Oh, I'm so fortunate. The Dharma is the bridge from conventional reality to ultimate reality. We have crossed over that bridge, and it is now traveling with us. Both exist. Our comfort, our support, our guidance is all the baggage we need. Actually, it is. That's all we need. And those who really develop renunciation find that. Leading very simple lives, having total conviction in the Buddha, and being guided by the Dharma. Then you find blessings, shelter when you need it, food when you need it. Being given what you need, not what you want. Desire diminishing. Perhaps you can glance back in your life and find the small miracles when the Dharma helped you, when you crossed that bridge. And generate just, wow, just incredible happiness. How did I do this? I found this jewel. Worth more than anything in the world, and you've got it. Consider all the teachings you've had, all the many ways to open up your heart and mind. Emptiness, teachings as the antidote to ignorance and our attachments and aversions. Teachings about the destructive nature of our emotions and how it leads to the non-virtues. Teachings on understanding our karma, the nature of the mind, our propensities, teachings on bodhicitta, all the different teachings. 7-point mind training, 8 verses of thought transformation, Shantideva's guide to the bodhisattva way of life. Just think of them all the ways in. A completely balanced diet. How did we manage that? Incredible karma. And knowing that we're heading for true cessation, the full noble truth, the truths of suffering, the cause of suffering, cessation, and Dharma, the path to end our suffering. Just reflect on those teachings you've had, or teachings you might have. Aspire to have. And just for the last few minutes, feel how that's fed your innate wisdom and compassion. And rejoice in being this inner being. And rest the mind, relax. And when you're ready, end your meditation. I've given us 10 minutes here in case there's anything cropping up for you that you want to ask. First of all, I'm going to ask those people online with my earphones in. How are you doing? Are you happy to sit there quietly with this and have a break now and come back? Or is there any queries? You're all happy. Kim and Kathleen, I presume you are too. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. What about in the room here? Is there anything coming up? To see some note taking? Is there anything you wish to clarify? Are you all okay? You're ready? I'm being gentle with you. It's quite a lot of meditation, but you're all okay, ready for a good break. Well then, it's 5 to 12. Let's have a break now. Enough. Lots to think about, and we'll see everybody at 2 o'clock. Yeah? Enjoy a lovely mindful 2 hours. Plenty of time to eat mindfully and go trekking in the Rockies or wherever you are. But come back, don't take refuge in them. Okay. Okay, see you all later.